Yo, we finally made it. We're finally here. The start of the 2024 college football season starts tonight because we're previewing some football games. I'm so excited. How are you, good sir?
Yeah, you're so excited you can't even get the words out. It has been.
That is correct. And I just got done talking for an hour straight, so I'm kind of like,
Well, you got to get ready, get locked in because we finally have some football. We have some football this week. We've got some goddamn football to talk about. One of the games is good. The rest of them aren't that great, but nonetheless, we made it.
We finally made it.
Blake.
You know who else made it?
Who?
You. I noticed you don't have on an LSU hat tonight.
Oh, I don't have to wear the goddamn hat anymore. That's done. No more of that. No more hat bets. No more offering to eat hats. I'm not doing it anymore.
Are you okay?
Yeah, why?
Because this is the second GD that you've let out tonight. Are we going to have a really good debate about Florida State and Georgia Tech here?
Well, I'm cursing because I'm excited.
Oh,
and
okay.
Second of all, as long as you don't come out here talking crazy, I don't think that you and I are going to get into a fight. A couple of Florida State fans kind of chimed in earlier, and we're saying, maybe you were going to come in here and poo-poo Florida State, but let's hope that doesn't happen tonight. I have a feeling that you won't. I don't think that you will.
Okay? Do you really think my takes are that bad where I'm going to come in here and poo-poo on Florida State about a game going up against Georgia Tech?
You've been a little critical of them, just a little bit critical of them this offseason. Just a little bit.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. What have I been critical about them that you haven't said the same exact things?
That's a good point.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, wait. That's not true. You and I agreed on DG. You and I agreed on DJU, but outside of that, I think that they're fine. If I recall the spring game reaction video that we had, you were a little bit more negative about their offensive line, if I remember correctly.
They gave up 6 sacks. And 10.
We're not rehashing that. We're not rehashing that. It's a preview day today. It's a preview day today.
Okay, I'm just saying. You want me to ignore 6 sacks?
I'm not rehashing the argument. I remember what I countered with, and I'm not rehashing the argument.
Game, Mr. Blake, is what
the counter argument was that because their pass rush and their defensive line looked really good was the bigger takeaway than talking about their. Again, we're here to preview the game. We're previewing the game.
Until it benefits you, when you could say the same thing about Ohio State. Not the only game we'll mention: Florida State versus Georgia Tech, but SMU versus Nevada.
Yeah, not a sexy game, but this is the first year that SMU is going to be they're a group of 4, or not group of 4, Power 4 team. So we need to see if they're ready. Some people have been pushing them as an ACC sleeper. I don't know if I'm necessarily in that same bucket, if I'm ready to commit to that, but we're going to find out a lot if they blow past Nevada.
Look, a really good team a year ago, 11-3. And here's the skinny on them before we get to them later, because we didn't did we do a deep dive on SMU?
No. Mm-mm.
Their entire offense comes back.
Yeah.
So not only were they really good offensively a year ago, they returned everybody besides a right tackle. And I'm like, damn, the retention rate that SMU has offensively is a really big deal. Oh, and by the way, just want to throw this out there about SMU. Their best defender returns in Elijah Roberts, too, at 10 sacks last year. So I am just going to remind people SMU might be a little bit of a sleeper here.
It depends on the definition of sleeper. I don't know if I go.
In the ACC is them being a sleeper to me. Even if they get to double-digit wins.
I don't love committing to new teams that were group of 5 going into a power conference and them doing better than 8-4. I think 8-4 is attainable because they actually have a pretty survivable schedule. They got one of the easier schedules in the ACC. I'm just not so ready to jump all in on saying that they're going to be more than that. Because, yes, what you're talking about, bringing back Elijah Roberts, who was their leading sack getter, Preston Stone, not like a premier quarterback talent, but a former decently highly recruited kid. I think he was a mid-level 4-star. Having him back for as much as he's played is great for them, but there's a shot that other positions on that team are still group of 5 level, and that could catch up to them. It's not going to happen in this Nevada game, but we're going to learn a lot about them depending on how they play.
You know who's not going to have worries about having G5 type players? That is Tennessee. They are recruiting at an elite level right now. We'll also talk about them getting David Stone. Joe, what did I say? You said Stone earlier.
I didn't.
He did. Right? The quarterback from SMU.
Preston. Oh, I said Preston
Stone. So I was thinking about it.
Okay.
But they do go into the high school recruiting ranks and get some very elite talent, quarterback, O-line, linebacker. We'll talk about them tonight too. And you know what, Joe? If we have time, we'll talk about Jaden Rashada just being petty.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that that's the direction that it's going in. I feel like we're just going to consistently get messy updates over the next few months until this whole thing is done and over with.
Mm-hmm. We'll see, man. I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. But they're going to threaten each other back and forth until it's set. Right.
Yeah.
So we'll get about that. But got a lot to get into. We finally made it. Joe, we're here.
Finally.
Congratulations. The long wait is over. By the way, I went to our guy Always Irish's show the other night.
Oh, no. Yeah, you sent me this. How did that – did you actually call in?
I will reciprocate how he treated us. I did it from the Ruffino and Joe show account because I didn't think – because they wouldn't know who it was. And they love you. You're a Notre Dame fan. So I just said, I asked him a question. And he goes, hey, Blake and Joe, they do a really good job. So, you know what? Maybe bygones are starting to be bygones.
The weird turn that whole situation is.
Weird turn, man.
You should have called in.
I'll call in next time.
Yeah.
Say, hey, this is Brian Kelly.
I'm sure that he would respond very politely if you said that.
I'm sure he'll hang up in my face. Nevertheless, we got a lot to get into, Joe. Let's talk about our good friends.
Look at that.
I got my mug from Chris Gates.
I got mine as well. And if you want more than a mug and you want actual coaching from our good friend Chris Gates,
or
abs, that's more important. That is the far more important thing. The football season is here now, and trying to tailgate, trying to stay focused on your fitness goals is going to be hard, and you can stay on track and make improvements with online fitness training camp that is presented by Chris Gates Fitness. In training camp, you'll get all the support that you need to build muscle, burn fat, and stay consistent with your workouts. And at the same time, you're going to be joining a community of like-minded people doing the exact same thing. Visit chrisgatesfitness.com/training camp or click the link that we have in the description and in our bio to learn more and sign up today. Use promo code RuffinoJoe to get a discount on your first month.
Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag. Joe, we come back and break down some football next. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
We're back.
it's not missed upon me that LSU just flipped somebody from Texas. Suck it, Josh. If he's
I
watching,
have nothing to add there.
Okay. All right. I had to get that out of my system. Joe, we finally made it. Week 0 is here, and the premier game at 11 a.m. on Saturday is going to be Florida State and Georgia Tech. How do you see this one going, man? We're finally into games. I think both teams have a lot of questions going into it.
Yeah.
Now, we do know and think that Florida State's going to be a lot better coming off the last 2 years that they've had under Mike Norvell. But, man, you're replacing a really good tight end, 2 really good receivers, a quarterback, a starting running back that's now in the NFL. You got a lot of defensive pieces like Jared Verse and Braden Fisk that you have to replace. I'm not saying that Georgia Tech is ultimately the team to test them and beat them in week 1, but going into this game, let's not act like that we need to get some clarity and some answers about who Florida State is going to be this year.
Georgia Tech fans don't like us and me specifically because we were negative about Haynes King transferring there. So first of all, I really don't care if you Georgia Tech fans get upset again. It means nothing to me. But to talk specifically about this game, I am real. They're the most whiny. They were so whiny. It was so annoying to get tagged and stuff this offseason.
And talked about Brent Key. Okay, we talked about how
I still think it was a mediocre hire, but I don't know. I just thought that was really random.
He went out and he's starting to flip some kids now. He's getting some money at Georgia Tech. I mean, he got a 5-star kid, not like Josh Petty, just this week.
I know. Let's see that translate to on the field this year, and they've got a brutal schedule.
Fair.
To talk about this game, though, I'm very excited to see what the new offensive approach is going to be for Alex Atkins in Florida State. Some of the stuff I was reading about, it was projecting that the stuff that, and we talked about this offseason, that the approach is going to be far more ground and pound. It's going to be run the ball as much as possible, build a lead, bleed out the clock, more Big Ten style football. And if you look at the way that this running back room has been assembled, one of the things that we applauded after the spring game was how deep it feels that running back position is. I think they're going to have an easy time running the ball in this game. I think it's going to be relatively lower scoring because of this and because that field is typically a little bit slower. They're playing in Ireland. They're playing on a soccer field. Hasn't been exactly a ton of great weather conditions the times that they've played in Dublin. I need to see what DJU does, though, when he's called upon. When they need him to make big splash plays. It doesn't seem like there's necessarily an answer on who the number 1 receiver is right now, but they're trying to figure that out. This is the opportunity to do so. I think the biggest thing, though, that I look at, and I know that you just grimaced at when I said that I thought they were going to have an easier time running the football. I watched Georgia Tech's spring game, and I wasn't, there was nothing about their defensive line or their defensive general that really flashed me.
If you're talking about this game, then okay. If you're talking about overall in the season, which is why I grimaced.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not there. Jordan Travis bailed you out of a lot of things in the running game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that, Joe, same thing that people talk about with the team that they started off the season with last year. Jaden Daniels bailed you out in the running game.
Yeah.
So did Jordan Travis. I'm with you. Okay. I just think from top to bottom, Florida State is more athletic at pretty much every position.
Yeah.
However, I know that we poo-pooed on, or you poo-pooed on, not necessarily me, on Haynes King. He's got to get the interception.
Well, no, hold on.
It was you.
There's a clip out there that Georgia Tech fans tag us in every so often of me nodding while you're making fun of his throwing motion. It was you way more than it was me.
Okay, I didn't say anything bad. I was making fun of his throwing motion. Okay,
yeah, you didn't say anything bad. Well,
his throwing motion was so bad. I mean,
it's gotten a little bit better. I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's gotten a lot better.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. It's not missed on me that the kid scored 37 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's boom or bust with him. Joe, if he gets those turnovers down, then what? And I'm not saying that they're going to win. I'm not saying that. I do feel like it might be a little bit closer than maybe some people like are just logo watching and didn't break down these teams. We're going into week 0. It's 11 a.m. kickoff. I'm with you to the extent. I don't know if I do think the game is close. I don't know if it's as close for the same reason that you're thinking. Let me tell you why. You said that they're going to run the football, meaning Florida State a little bit more at will than maybe some would perceive going into this game. My thing is I think that Haynes King and this Georgia Tech offense will sustain some drives on this defense early, because, look, you got everybody returning. I don't think Haynes King played bad a year ago. I think that he just had so many bad moments, so many moments where you're like, bro, where did that throw come from? Like, there are times last year when you look at him throwing the ball in the back of the end zone, a corner route, it's like on a dime. And you're like, dude, NFL dudes don't make those throws from 45 yards out. And then you look at him and he's making those turnovers, those silly mistakes, the 16 interceptions. So the kid can run, though, too. And anytime that you have a kid, a mobile quarterback that can run and will run, sometimes that can benefit a team that is not as talented. I'm just very interested to see every single piece that we have I have question marks on Florida State. You got to replace a really good running back. You got to replace two dudes inside or two guys on the left side of your defensive line. I know you got better. I know you hit the portal like crazy. But, Joe, I kind of need to see it when you're replacing that kind of talent too.
You hit the nail on the head with the second point that I had going into this game relating to Haynes King. I think that, and we were some of these people that just assumed that he wasn't really going to do much at Georgia Tech. He's a lot better. And Georgia Tech doesn't get a lot of national coverage, so I don't think a lot of people remember and even know this.
Last year. I mean, like, they had a winning season, and for that place.
Yeah. The stats that Haynes King put up last year, he didn't really get recognition for it. I think he is a great quarterback for a team like Georgia Tech. And I think that, to your point, is going to help them sustain some drives to put some points up on the board. As you have explained here, there's going to be some logo watching where some people are going to look at this and think, oh, this is going to be a 30-point blowout because we're just used to seeing Georgia Tech not be good in these types of matchups. Don't see that happening at all. Do I see Florida State winning by 2 touchdowns? Totally. And do I see them just kind of controlling the clock and playing their game and trying to get a feel for, who they are? I really like for Florida State's case in this situation that they're not like Notre Dame last year, playing against a team like Navy or just a nothing team that the outcome of it, if they blow past them, they're not going to really get to learn their identity. They get to go up against a team that's going to put up a fight, but is defeatable for them. One final thing here. I know that you're wary of the departures that they have on the defensive side of the football. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Jared Verse is gone. Braden Fisk is gone. Those are guys, and they've got a lot of movement happening at the linebacker position. It sounds like they're very high on what they have at linebacker from some of the things I was reading today. But, dude, I'm telling you, man, I rewatched that spring game. I really think that Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. in this game are going to tee off. I think that they are going to have a huge freaking game, man. I am so hyped up to see what that pass rushing duo is going to do because both of those guys, if they hit their ceilings and they improve the way that they can improve, they both could be first-round picks this year, which is crazy to say for a defensive front.
I don't know if they're going to tee off. I mean, they could, and it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. However, I got to ask you this. Mm-hmm. If there are crucial situations and Georgia Tech does hold this offense, though, okay, on critical third downs, again, are you trusting DJU? Because you're putting far too much credit. Look, here's a hot take. You ready? After we saw Haynes King last year, okay, how much of a drop-off is it from DJU to him?
Wait, you're saying how much of a drop-off is it from Haynes King to DJ?
Okay,
hold on. Look, DJU has his struggles, and we have been very critical of him, but he is not worse than Haynes King. Come on, we can't.
No, but
that is.
Joe, Haynes King had 37 touchdowns last year.
He had a good season last year. DJU is not
37 touchdowns in the Power 5 at a quarterback is not a good year. It's borderline. Joe, he's 3 away from 40 total touchdowns, dude.
DJU is I would take DJU before I would take Haynes King.
I didn't argue that. I didn't argue that. What I'm saying is that are you going to be surprised at DJU and a new offense and a new system, game 1 at 11 a.m.?
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, well, you didn't even let me finish, but has struggles on a third down situation, which is going – we're talking about, okay, Florida State defensively, they're going to tee off. Again, Joe, what DJU are we going to get? At some point, it's going to either finally he developed and finally the light clicked on, or it's going to be like new year, same DJU.
I don't think that Florida State needs that. I don't think that they need the 5-star premier one-game glimpse of DJU that we saw his freshman year where everyone thought he was the next coming of Big Ben. I don't think that we need him to ever get to that, and I don't think Florida State needs that. I think, to your point, if Georgia Tech wants to keep this game close and to pull off the upset, they need to defend the run really aggressively, and they need to force him into as many third and longs as possible as they can get. And this is what's important here. It's not just DJU. It is the whole passing attack that they are now trying to figure out who the next receiver is that they can lean on, or guys that they can go to, because Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman are gone.
And almost that part I agree with. Run game.
I'm not worried about the run game. The run game is going to be fine.
Roydale Williams is a good back. He's not Trey Benson.
Their run game is going to be fine. I'm not worried about their run game.
Okay.
I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue.
Watch him blow them out.
Watch Florida State blow them out, or Georgia?
Yeah, watch Florida State blow them out. But if they do, I'm wary of all the things that they have to replace. More than a lot of teams, man. Now, but hold on very quickly. They got a lot of talent, though. They got a shitload of talent. You can't take away that Florida State's got a shitload of talent. I think they're going to win. I'm picking them to win. I just don't know if it's not closer than most are talking about, Joe. I'm sorry.
Well, I haven't heard anyone else do a preview yet. We're pretty early in on this. But I agree with that end part there of like, this isn't going to be a 30-point blowout. It's just not. Okay. The identity and the way that Florida State's going to play is not going to be like last year where they could just put up points in bunches.
Question. Yes. If the game is close, then what do we do? Then at the end of the game, what are we saying about DJU?
That's a very good question. If the game is close,
then again, so if we're both going to agree that the game is going to be close, that means that DJ did not overwhelm, right? That's what it's going to have to mean.
Wait, define. Okay, when you say close, what is the point total that you would depict as close?
I would say 28 or 31, 21, 31, 24. I think they're a touchdown.
I think it's going to be bigger than that.
And it might be. I could see 14 points too. But how's the 14 points divided? Or is Georgia Tech going on a score late in the game? They throw a pick because Haynes King doesn't figure out his turnovers. They get a pick six. I don't know. But I do think that Georgia Tech's going to be better. Bro, Joe, last year we thought Georgia Tech was going 3-9, 4-8. And they found a way to get to a bowl game and win it. I know that they had bad, tough losses like against Ole Miss. That's Ole Miss in year one. I know that you had a bad loss to Clemson last year. That's year one. But it wasn't – if you go halfway through those games, it was virtually tied in both. Joe, if you get a half of football – okay, where they're neck and neck, what are you going to do? I know what you'll do. Oh, it was a boat race. They kicked their ass, even though it's tied at halftime.
A tie at halftime in a week 0 game in another country. Okay, here you asked a question though a second ago, and I think that is very important. Hold on, it is a very important question to have. The question that you just asked is very important. If this game is 7 points or less. What does that tell us about Florida State? That's a really important talking point that we need to have here. If it is, I think that tells me that DJU probably did not play as good as many would have hoped, and maybe he has a couple turnovers or one turnover and he takes a couple sacks because he's holding the ball too long. If it's close, then I think it's a little bit reactionary to completely sound the alarm because, again, they're playing in another country at early kickoff in a completely different time zone. But I would say that we should absolutely start being concerned because this is on paper a game that Florida State should have no trouble winning because you just pointed out Florida State is talented across the board and they've got a ton of dudes. If they're held back by something, it's going to be trying to throw the football because they don't know who the next receivers are and because DJU isn't stepping up to the plate.
Now imagine it, Joe. Now imagine Georgia Tech has an entire team returning. I mean, they're returning damn near their entire team. Are they going to develop less? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, I think they're going to win. Okay, but I have an entire team returning, and then another entire team who has a shitload of talent. But do they have the cohesiveness? Like, by the way, Joe, here's another question. What do we learn week 1 about comms in helmets? Like, what do we learn about that? Does that help Haynes King? Do they go into the huddle? Like, those are all questions that I have personally.
Can we just take a second, though, to acknowledge the context of what 7-6 was for Georgia Tech? Can we just talk about it for a second?
Okay, that's my point. I think it's highly positive. I don't know how you're going to view it.
I mean, one of those games, they would have been the Miami game if it wasn't for Mario. That does not go to Georgia Tech if it wasn't for the most insane coaching.
I don't play in non-reality.
It is in the context of when we're trying to paint if a team is good or not, and a lot of those guys from last year came back. I think that they were a chippy, difficult to take down team, and that's the team that's going to show up in this matchup. Okay, but they're not. I agree. I really don't think they're going to be more than 6-7 this year. I really do, or not even. They wouldn't even get to. I don't even think they get to a bowl game. I think they're going to be 5-7 this year because that they have the third hardest schedule. I forget where they're on the ranking.
Yeah, they have a very tough schedule. Very tough schedule.
They have the hardest schedule that's a non-SEC team.
However, they had a hard schedule last year and beat 2 top 15 teams.
Dude, they beat Wake Forest, Bowling Green. They lost to Boston College. That was a good win.
They beat
Virginia
Miami
and Syracuse after they fired their coach.
Okay, Joe, in game 1, they lose to Syracuse by 5. That's game 1 of the Brent Key era. Joe, I don't think that they're going to get worse. I really don't. But you're acting like I'm saying that Florida State's going to lose.
No, I'm not. I'm just pushing back.
I'm defending it like I'm defending it like you think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. But you can't say it's a 14-10. Do we?
Yeah, I'm
on YouTube or
Sorry,
Facebook?
I got distracted. YouTube, I got rid of them.
So Joe, you think it's a 14 to 10 point game, right?
Yeah, minimum 10.
Okay,
well, it's 11-point spread right now. I would take Florida State to cover.
Okay, fair enough. Even if it's inside 14 points in college football, that's not relatively a big you separated from them. Now, 14 points, it can look a lot different if you can't move the football. But we're not saying that Georgia Tech's not going to be able to move the football. They moved the football last year against some really good defenses. Hey, Joe, I'm old enough to remember when they put 23 on Georgia a year ago. I don't think that this team gets worse.
Well, that Georgia game, we all remember what happened in that Georgia game. That not the full starting lineup for Georgia was playing in that game.
True. They also played through 3 quarters too.
Okay.
I mean, did they not?
Yeah.
Actually, I remember watching. Joe, they came out the last 2 series, and then Kirby started trickling guys back in after they scored late and made it within a one score game. Bullshit.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd use that game as well.
You got the wildest imaginations. Okay, can I get to my last point here before we move on?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a 11-point game, 10-point game, we're going to come back out here on Sunday and say, same year, new year, same DJU.
Yeah,
we're going to do that.
I know that
we're
we will.
going to do that. And so it is what it is. God, Florida State's going to hate my ass.
I would love for DJU to prove the doubters wrong. That's all I'm going to say. He's going to come out and
You're one of them. You're one of them. What are you talking about? You're literally one of them. Got another bot in the chat.
Oh man, we're getting
you are.
Oh, you're talking about?
No, but we had another one.
Oh,
they're all over the place. All right, you want to get to
a quick super chat?
Okay. Elk70 with a $2 super chat says, Joe, your favorite Notre Dame fan is here. Chrome Dome.
He's talking about Michael Dallas fan. Yeah, we're just gonna move on. Thank you for the $2. What? You want to acknowledge his comments? He's writing an essay.
Well, when he came into everything that we were doing on AYS, I was just done. I not blocked. What do you call that when you don't see?
He used to come in. He came into the AYS chats.
Oh, dude, what?
I didn't know that. I didn't know. I thought he was only coming in our show.
No, sir. Brother would come in there on Twitter all hot and heavy. You no good son of a bitch. And I'm like, bro, calm down. It's not that serious.
I will, before we move on.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, there's a lot of other shows that I've listened to, like big networks, CBS Sports, 24/7 Sports, and I've been listening. And the hosts have pulled his comments up and gotten extremely upset reading his comments. So he does it to national people, like high-level national people. It's so goddamn funny.
Well, maybe we're high-level national people now.
I get, maybe it's a good sign that we're on Michael's radar. Maybe that's what it is.
All right. You want to get to? Never mind. I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay. No, I'm not. That Notre Dame fan who said he wished I didn't have a heart attack before Notre Dame won the national title this year apologized to me in a DM.
Oh, that's nice of him.
Can't do it publicly though. I hate
still
people
nice though.
No, it's not. If you're gonna talk that shit, you better be able to be man enough and have enough nuts to go out there and do it in person.
Fair.
In reality, don't be a puss. All right, let's get to SMU in Nevada. Joe, a new conference for SMU this year. They start off in week 0. I think that there are a lot of people in the greater Dallas area. And be honest with you, I think just football fans in general are really wanting to see what Rhett Lashley and the gang at SMU is going to be able to pull off here in week 0. Can they go into the ACC and have a lot of the same success like they did last year when they went 11-3?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I said in the open, I'm always really careful about any of these teams that are moving up or just moving conferences in general. Like, you need to have a Texas-type roster where you've been recruiting at an elite level when you make the jump to more difficult competition.
Mm-hmm.
This is a case where it was a bit instant when they made this change to the ACC. It was in all the commotion that they were just one of the aggressive teams. I really like Elijah Roberts. There's a lot of money being thrown around for them to become a legit program. So that's part of the reason why I'm optimistic. I think Preston Stone is great for their success. What I'm paying attention to in this Nevada game, I just want to see, is their offensive line going to dominate? And is their D-line, led by Elijah Roberts, going to get a lot of sack production, a lot of tackles for loss against the run? If they kick ass along the lines of scrimmage, most of my doubt on how they're going to play in the ACC this year goes out the window. I'd be all in on how good they can be if they kick some serious ass, because that is where, when you move up in competition, where any resistance, any slowdown typically comes, is because you don't have the bodies yet and the guys yet, the athletes yet, along the line of scrimmage to compete. We're going to find that out when they face off with Nevada. I think this is a CBS Sports Network game, I think is what this one's on.
Yeah, they always have at least one game at night on week 0.
Yeah.
Remember they had Hawaii and Vanderbilt. Remember, what was it, 2 years ago when Vandy actually almost became bowl eligible? Gotta love the Commodores, man. Gotta love the Commodores. Look, Joe, you know this, I think, a little bit more than most. I love Rhett Lashley. Have had a lot, personally, I'm going to try very hard not to be biased here. However, I agree with you. I don't know if their offensive line doesn't show promise that they can't do some really good things in the ACC year 1. I am worried about going into a bigger conference, though, and I know it's not going to really show itself in week 1, but I do worry about them going into a new conference where Preston Stone did only throw for 59.9% completion percentage last year. Was very serviceable, very good, 28 passing touchdowns, 6 picks, did make some good decisions, just not as accurate at times as he probably needed to be. They're another team, Joe, when I look at them, when everybody returns. Like, Joe, what do we see in college football these days? When you have a team that doesn't have to replace a lot and you got a year or 2 with the team, what do they always do? I was thinking about this with SMU today when I was finalizing notes based off of what we saw last year. Second year Bo Nix at Oregon. How did they do? Second year Michael Penix at Washington. How did they do? Second year Jaden Daniels at LSU. How did they do? Joe, the top 3 offenses last year all had the same things in common. Everybody returned. And I look at SMU. I agree with you with the O-line. Bro, your pass game doesn't get worse with all your receivers coming back, your top running backs coming back, and your starting quarterback. Joe, I'm borderline on SMU. In reference to this game, I think they're going to be very improved, and they're going to show it. They're going to want to make a statement in game 1 versus Nevada.
I think one thing, too, that really just flashes to me, this is one of the few rosters that when you just look at their depth chart, you see that the amount of graduate level players, and that means nothing these days because I don't know if that means you've been playing for 5 years or if you've been playing for 8, but it does mean that you're experienced and you've been playing a lot of college football. I'm just going to guess it's a lot of 5th and then maybe a couple 6th-year guys.
Well, a lot of 6-year guys.
There's still some of those guys floating around there. They've got 3 offensive linemen that are graduate level players. They have 2 defensive linemen that are graduate level players. They are experienced in the most important way possible, which is not only having older guys, but guys that are in their getting close to their mid-20s, guys that are 22, 23, some maybe they end up being 24. That stuff shows up. I really think that they're going to start their season with a bang. I think that the idea is when you're going up against a sputtering Nevada program that's kind of just there, that they want to prove to everybody, hey, look, we're much more of a much more competition than you think that we are. And you want to build some momentum and some confidence. And I'd be willing to bet that they're looking at this as that opportunity to hit the ground running heading into ACC play.
I do too. Now, look, Preston Stone's got to get better in decision-making and being more accurate. Joe, 60% completion percentage is below average even at the G5 level. You got to pick it up when you just got to make better and crisper and earlier decisions. Look, Rhett's going to throw that thing now. He comes from the same tree in the offense that I committed to and played for. You got to, as someone who sat in Hal Mummy-type meetings – for God knows how long with Coach Rowland and Mike Lucas and the gang, you literally have to get the ball out quick. And I felt like when he was streaky, very on, very hot. But when the bad times got bad, the bad times got bad, right? And those were the things that I think he's got to clean up. Joe, they're going to score so much. They got a lot of speed. By the way, they've recruited well. They got a lot of young players from that Duncanville, Dallas area that they've brought in that got some serious speed. There are going to be guys that they have this year that we are not talking about, even though you return your entire receiving core. They're going to blossom because they're just better overall talented dudes. I think that they're going to make some waves, and I really think they'll make some waves this year offensively. it's hard for me to not say that I don't think Rhett Lashley starts getting in conversations for these bigger jobs. If he gets another 10, 11, 12 win year, I mean, he will. Just how do you do it in a new conference is going to be a big deal. In reference to Nevada, Joe, I was told by a little bird that he might want to come out and establish the running game more than they have the last couple of years. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know much about this Nevada team. I don't think we're going to ever talk about them again. I think this is the most that you're ever going to hear the word Nevada said on this show for the next 2 years.
Come on, man. There's going to be a Nevada fan in
Why
here
else
that's
would
like,
we mention them?
I mean, Joe, we can't just punch down to all the lower G5 programs. We love college football, man. We got to talk about all of them equally.
Wait, am I
What?
Am I freezing or are you freezing?
Oh, I don't know.
No,
You hadn't been freezing to me. Have I been freezing to you?
I can't tell if this is. It's me. I think we're good. Do I sound?
You really
okay?
just
No.
Yeah, you sound fine. You just stopped me there mid. I think you were just so tired about talking about Nevada. You were just like, screw this.
Wait. Okay, I think we're good. There's a thunderstorm going on right now, so it's. I think it's for me. There's a thunderstorm happening right now. I think we're fine. You've kind of faded back in, and it looks like you're moving. Are we good?
Have you not heard a word I've said the last minute?
I have a little bit.
Oh no.
I hate technology. Jesus Christ.
Well, is it the
I think
weather
we're
or is
fine.
it the technology?
We're not fine. I think it's both.
Can you see me?
I can see
Hello
you.
over there.
I can
Okay.
see you.
Okay.
It's definitely me.
Yeah, why don't you leave and come back? But that's our wrap up for SMU.
All right, let's do that.
All right, leave and come back. All right. But yeah. All right, back to this SMU game. Joe brought up something that I haven't mentioned yet. Elijah Roberts was very interesting last year. I want to get to this, Joe. Can you hear me better now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're good now.
Okay. I know you talked about Elijah Roberts earlier. I for whatever reason, I didn't get to him or talk about him. Dude, how many guys are we going to see, okay, when we do all of these games, talk about all these teams this year? Like, Joe, Elijah Roberts might have had one of the quieter 10-sack seasons in the country. I mean, normally you're getting thrown around like, hey, man, this guy's having a lot of production. But you looked at them offensively last year, and that's what everybody was focused in on. Elijah Roberts draft projections. You got anything on him? Like, where would he be sitting?
He actually appeared on the first team NFL draft show. My co-host Ryan Roberts interviewed him. Day 3 guy. But you're right. You talked about that production that he has. I'm almost shocked. Like Trey Moore, another guy who was at UTSA, another Texas G5 school who had a ton of production. Yeah, and he transferred to Texas. I'm surprised, and I'd be willing to bet that some phone calls were probably made in his direction to try and get him to come. I don't know if it's for sure or not, but I'm just kind of speculating. If you have 10 sacks, people are probably going to try and call you to get you to come play for their school.
And SMU's giving money, man. They're giving money.
Well, this is proof that their commitment to keeping guys to finish, to have a great first year in the ACC, it's proof that all these guys came back and they're all passing up on probably what was opportunities to go to bigger programs.
No question. And look, man, you say day 3. Joe, if he has another year where he's got that much production, no telling what he's going to do. All right, let's do this. We got about 15 minutes. You want to get to Tennessee, get a break and get to Tennessee recruiting?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Talk about our friends at Home Field Apparel. We'll reset. We'll come right back. Stay with us.
Ruffino and Joe Show is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, which is the best, without a doubt, premium collegiate apparel brand that is out there. They have over 150 different colleges that you can choose from, whether you're an Illinois fan or a Rutgers fan, maybe you're an LSU fan like Blake, or maybe you're an Alabama fan. Whatever it is, even Idaho, they have so many different designs for so many different football programs that I can guarantee you're going to find some great stuff to help root for your favorite team. I've already gotten my Notre Dame stuff. Blake has his LSU stuff. Make sure you head on over to homefieldapparel.com to check out your team's collection of clothing apparel that they have on the website. And when you do so, when you check out, make sure you use promo code Ruffino Joe to get 15% off your order. That is RUFFINO Ruffino Joe. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com and get your college gear today.
By the way, if Sean Anderson, your other co-host, texts me again about tackling an ostrich or a bear, or about Michael Penix Jr. not playing in a preseason game, I might lose it. By the way, let me tell him I said this. An ostrich. So hold on. Y'all had a mailbag question that was asked to y'all about what kind of animal that you could fight and win against, and he said an ostrich.
No, I said it. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, he did say an ostrich. Yeah, that was him who said it.
Okay. An ostrich will mess you up. As someone who's an avid outdoorsman, it will mess you up.
You encounter a lot of ostriches?
No, but I've seen a shitload. Dude, their talons are like this long. Okay, somebody's going to clip that and be like, oh, Blake, pause. Okay. They will mess you up. By the way, a 3-year-old bear will demolish you.
Oh, maybe it's one of those little dumb ones. I don't know. It's okay. So he texted you though.
3-year-old grizzly bear is going to be about 800 pounds. Good luck.
We were literally just sitting at the bar watching a terrible baseball game, and I look over and I'm like, "Why are you texting Blake?" And he was just like, "Oh, I just need to get him going. I just need to rile him up." That was what he said. He was just bored.
A bear. A 3-year-old bear. Who does he think he is? Khabib Nurmagomedov or whatever his name is? All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to this. Joe, we talked about Tennessee recruiting about a month ago, maybe less than that, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We're back at it again. Tennessee, Josh Heupel, have at it. Joe, it's really nice when alignment comes together in a program. These type of things start happening. In case you missed it, they got a commitment from David Sanders, the number 1 offensive tackle in the 2025 class. But, Joe, a couple weeks before, they got Faison Brandon. They've gotten other guys like Hayward and Carson Snead and Deshaun Brame. And then they get a big flip from Alabama and Jaden Herman. So, Joe, I think the biggest question a lot of people had about Josh Heupel was, could he go to Tennessee and recruit? Well, buddy, I mean, my man's not doing too bad. Has another top 10 class here.
We spent a lot of time talking about the entirety of this class, but I think that you get a guy like David Sanders, who's the top tackle in the country. That to me is the crown jewel on top of everything that you've been doing. You have an anchor now by bringing in a guy like this. And from a lot of the recruiting shows that I was listening to that were talking about him, Tennessee wasn't necessarily brought up as the likely contender until it felt like the very end. I thought, and maybe I'm. I was just going to say, I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, and Elks can correct me. I thought he was going to end up at Ohio State.
Big Ohio State lean. Big Ohio State lean. A lot of people thought in the very beginning, right?
Him ending up at Tennessee, though, this is unprecedented for them to recruit this well, and to do it at a key important positions. This is, again, we've said it already, and this is, people get upset by making this statement. This is national championship level recruiting. If you want to win a national title, you need to get guys like this, like the number 1 tackle in the country, top quarterbacks, top receivers. Everything that they're doing is Heupel's doing it at an elite level.
So, look, the last time we spoke, I said they got to go out and get offensive linemen, right? Like that was the one thing that we talked about their class 3 weeks ago. We brought up this exact recruit, and that being David Sanders. Well, they pull it off. But here's another thing, Joe. What do we know that's really happening? And we're not making assumptions when we say this. We have their quarterback right now in Nico, the alignment that it took between Heupel and their collective to getting there. I'm assuming you're doing the same thing with Brandon in 2026, and I'm assuming you're doing the same thing with David here in 2025. Joe, alignment will make you a winner in reference to the talent you'll get there, because Heupel's going to be really good offensively. But what did we talk about in our Tennessee deep dive? Joe, it's their front seven that people are like, hey, bro, defensively, there might not be that bad. So, Joe, not only are they recruiting well, they're identifying better players and developing them when they get there, which is a bigger deal than anything. Anybody can get a 5-star recruit. Anybody. I say anybody. Let me not say anybody. Majority of top programs, SEC, Big Ten, they can contend or get 5-star kids. Tennessee's got multiple of them here now. It's that, look, hey, man, we just think that James Pierce Jr. is better than everything that you have going. We think that he's better, so what? He's a 4-star kid. That is where they're winning more than anything. Look, we talked about them in playoff contention. And when you recruit like this, that's what keeps you in that contention year in and year out.
Well, that's where the gap is bridged to what you're talking about, is what they were doing leading up to this massive recruiting class that they are cooking up for 2025 is they were finding and identifying the James Pierce Jr.'s of the world, which is, here's a guy that has every single trait that we want, and we're going to prioritize him, and we're going to get him into the building, and we're going to develop him, and he's going to turn into a potential first overall pick. That's the conversation that James Pierce Jr. is in. To now where you're able to get those 5 stars and also ID those guys that maybe aren't in the mainstream conversation, that are in the middle of the pack, that you have high hopes of developing them into becoming future stars. That is how Alabama won. That's how Georgia has won. That's how, especially a team like Michigan was able to win. They built their house on 4 stars. And then they capped it off by bringing in guys like Will Johnson to round out the classes that they had. There is just so much potential here for Tennessee. I'm curious, though, and this isn't to upset any Tennessee fans. I'm just curious if all of these guys stay committed.
Well, you can do that with everybody, because you could do the same thing with Alabama. Joe, a month ago, we were talking about, hey, man, look, Kalen DeBoer can recruit. And then now they go out and flip Jaden Herman from Alabama, the linebacker, this weekend. I mean, you could say that about every single program. You got to keep all of your kids committed. I just don't even talk about that. In recruiting, you got to live in the now, because if you presume, then God knows what's going to happen. Joe, let me ask you a question. I know that this is a Tennessee segment. I know that Nick had some flips here and there sometimes. This is new for this Alabama fan base. And you know what it also is? It's new for college football that someone can go into Alabama to a committed kid and flip them. 9.9 times out of 10, when Nick got a commitment, kid wasn't flipping. It wasn't happening. I know that Alabama has a number 2 overall class. I get it. But again, it is still something that they were able to go in there and flip somebody. Just saying.
I'm not hitting the panic button, but I do agree with you that it is.
Oh, hell no.
It's a little concerning.
Number 2 overall class.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't hit the panic button.
For that reason, if they lost Keelan Russell, if they lost their quarterback, I think that we would be hitting the panic button. But you're right. This doesn't feel normal. Most other fan bases, except for maybe Georgia, and Georgia even deals with flips, most other fan bases do deal with this. It is something that Alabama's not really expecting. Alabama was always the one that was coming along, stealing dudes and just flipping them last second to come play for them. I mean, as a Notre Dame fan, I'm still scorned by the Keon Keeley flip that happened a couple years
doomsday.
ago. Yeah, that was one of the worst days ever.
That's why I call him the Darth Vader, man. I mean, because he would just come up behind you and pause and steal your recruits. Look, here's the thing. You know what we haven't talked about all offseason, and it's great because maybe we shouldn't have. You know what we haven't talked about hardly at all? what is the impact of Sabanless college football on the field?
I think we're seeing it right now. I think that more recruiting parity. That's the answer.
Bingo. More recruiting parity, and I think there's an unknown. Joe, I mean, look, LSU just flipped Cade Phillips. You've had multiple flips. Okay, now Bama's done their fair share, but there comes a part where it's starting to feel more even at times, right? Like it feels more even than what Saban was doing. We don't talk about his impact in leaving the sport and the trickle effect that it causes. Tennessee, LSU, Auburn, nobody was going in there ever and flipping anybody ever. And now you've had 3 in a month? Like 3 kids that have been flipped. Auburn gets a pair, Tennessee. That just never happens. And it's not missed upon me that it's happening. Just want to throw that out there. In reference to Tennessee, Joe, I don't ever really remember Josh Heupel being very big with tight ends. Am I wrong here? Offensively, I know they've had some success, but not like trying to get tight ends premier action. Am I wrong?
No, not that I can think of.
Deshaun Brame and then Carson Snead. You know what Heupel's doing in front of our eyes through a recruiting lens? He's innovating.
In what way? In what do you mean by that?
I think this Brame kid and this Snead kid, could they be in the line of scrimmage guys? Yes. I went and watched the Snead kid's film. This dude can catch. This dude can run for a big guy, right? And I'm like, hey, bro, I have no. You're gonna give him this dude, you're gonna give Heupel this guy to play with. That's where I started coming with, and I'm like, man, I don't ever really remember him having a big time tight end. But if he's gonna get guys that can catch and run like that, then just more weapons, man, more weapons for him.
Well, I think this year we're going to kind of get to see more premier tight end usage because Ethan Davis is going to be in his second year. He was pretty highly sought after. Very good athlete. I think that could kind of be that early exposure to what you're talking about if he does start to implement more of a focus on getting those tight ends involved.
Very much good. Very much good. All right, as we wrap it up here, do you want to get to this Jaden Rashada stuff or just yada? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to quickly hit on it, if you want to explain the context, because you're a little bit more caught up than I am.
Basically, it's Jaden Rashada. In case you missed it, Jaden Rashada in his camp is saying that Billy Napier violated Florida law. And I think what they're trying to get into the courts is Billy Napier in a little bit of trouble. This isn't going anywhere. It's a bluff tactic. But basically, they're putting pressure on Billy and Florida saying, hey, man, y'all think that just because you didn't pay me is a gain? No, you broke Florida law. Now, I don't. What would they have to do? Pay a fine? I don't think Billy Napier's going to jail. You don't go to jail for saying, "Hey, I mean, I don't think it's that kind of legal action. But I don't know what is going on. What they're trying to threaten here. Get your money and move on. If you're Rashada, settle, get your money, move on. At this point, am I wrong? I mean, look, I get what happened sucked, but let's get some money and move on. Florida, settle with them. Let's be done with it.
I'm no lawyer, but it kind of feels like doing something like this is a way to expedite the settlement, to put that pressure over his head of hey, if you really want to take this thing to court, then we're going to bring up massive infractions like this. If you want to just get this done and closed up and over with, we'll get the settlement through. It is, as I said in the open, there's going to be a lot of pettiness. Because it's not just Rashada. I mean, think about, I don't know what his parents are like or his family dynamic is like, but think of it as you as a parent. I know my dad would be beyond pissed, probably more pissed than me if I was in a situation like this. And I know that probably his parents want to get as much out of it as possible to just, get back at them because they feel disenfranchised by the whole situation. So, yeah, I kind of just want this to be over with. I kind of want it just to get settled for an undisclosed amount, and then we can just kind of check the box and know that it's done, and then the NCAA can study it, and then it'll become some sort of a rule that'll be named after Jaden Rashada.
I said this a long time ago. I think you'll remember. I'm going to say it again. I know for a fact, not guessing, for a fact, know that Rashada's camp, I'm not saying the kid, but the camp that he was involved with, when he went to all of his official visits, was asking for, like, first question on the visit, how much are you going to give me? If they did not like the number, they would get up and walk away. Literally and figuratively. Leave visits if they didn't get their number. It's just, at this point, I mean, settle it, be done with it. Because it feels like at this point, what you're doing is that you just want your money, which I don't blame you. Now, you said, Blake, you as a parent. You know, also me as a parent, when this kind of money was, bro, if this kind of money was being thrown at Ben, we would be locked, loaded, and having our I's dotted, T's crossed. We would have attorneys involved well before this shit was going on. No, here's the truth. Joe, when people are dealing with that kind of money, they wanted some stuff that they couldn't put in a contract, and they were going to do it. That's why they did it that way. And now that all this shit's out, I mean, look, man, they want some penance, and good on them. But at some point, look, move on, get a settlement. Let's be done with all this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree.
You're just like, screw this shit. I don't care.
No. Well, okay, there's nothing else to talk about with it other than that.
Okay. Fair.
What do you want me to? You wanted me to repeat what you just said? I'll gladly repeat what you just said. I agree with you. That's something that's never said on this show.
Oh no!
What?
Boise State just lost their starting quarterback for the year.
No,
just
I thought that.
Boise State. Maddox Madsen is starting at quarterback over Malachi Nelson. Hey, before we get out of here.
I saw.
Hold on. Before we get out of here. We did a Boise State deep dive. Did we not?
Yeah.
What was our biggest arguing?
That's a mistake.
What was our biggest arguing point?
Maybe the quarterback, I think. That might have been. I don't remember. It's a mistake. You can't. Maybe that kid's got a little bit more experience.
I hold the mic. When elite coaches like Lincoln Riley have had multiple Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, when he leaves, you got to question what actually was happening. Joe, he would have started this year. If the kid was good enough, he would have started this year.
Yeah, he's probably not good enough.
Little BS about, this, that, the third, whatever. Man, you know what? That thunderstorm that you're going through right now, that's the Lord telling you should have listened to Blake.
I think it's a terrible decision. I just think that is. He's not as athletic as Malachi Nelson is.
Have you been to practice?
No, I haven't. I've made it out to Boise, Idaho anytime recently. All I'm saying is that, yes, you've got a kid who's probably a little bit more decisive. He's 5'10"? Hold on. He's 5'10", 200 pounds. Blake, that's me back there playing quarterback for them. Holy shit.
Then why is he starting him over Malachi Nelson?
All right, well, Malachi Nelson must absolute just be dog shit. He must be terrible if this is.
All right, let's get out of here before we get canceled. Let's get out of here before we get canceled. Malachi Nelson's people see this, and we're in deep trouble.
We're not going to get canceled. I'm dumbfounded by the decision making by Boise State. That's all I got.
We'll see you tomorrow, man. Peace.